Hello, my name is Mandy Vongkhamsao, and this is my final project on the Cambodian Genocide. Democratic Kampuchea. Cambodia is a country in Southeast Asia and home to over 15 million people as of 2016. After gaining independence from France in 1953, the state was intermittent with widespread challenges due to their inadvertent entanglement with the Vietnam War. Following the Cambodian Civil War, a radical group called the Khmer Rouge, led by Pol Pot, came to power and immediately captured the city of Phnom Penh. This led to become the disreputable Cambodian genocide of over 1.5 million people, around 25% of Cambodia's population at the time, that perished by disease, forced labor, starvation, and mass executions established by the Khmer Rouge regime from 1975 to 1979. This is the Democratic Kampuchea's flag before it became the modern Cambodian flag. And this is the country of Cambodia. And this is the city of Phnom Penh. The Cambodian Genocide Timeline. On April 17, 1975, the Khmer Rouge overthrows Phnom Penh on April 17, 1975. 2 million people were immediately evacuated from the city, and those who survived the relocation were forced to unpaid labor. So what happened was those who were in the city were relocated, and only those who survived were able to make it to the camps. So even children, elderly people, handicapped people, they were killed immediately since they weren't able to move from the city to the agricultural sites. In 1975 through 1979, under the rule of Pol Pot, the Khmer Rouge targeted individuals who were dissident and previously associated with the former military and political leadership of Cambodia. Various ethnic groups were also targeted. So people who were in the previous government for Cambodia, they were immediately executed, and if they surrendered, they were still executed because Pol Pot wanted to play a clean slate for all the ideas of the new Cambodian government that he wanted to establish. And also he wanted to do a genocide and create Cambodian purity. So he killed all the ethnic groups who were also living inside of Cambodia. So this meant other countries who like Laos, Thai, Vietnam, even Chinese ethnic groups, and also religious ethnic groups were targeted too. On January 19, 1979, an estimation of 1.5 to 3 million victims were executed by the Khmer Rouge. On January 9, 1979, Vietnam invaded Cambodia and overthrew Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge regime in Phnom Penh. 3 decades later, on February 11, 2010, a court rules the perpetrators of the Khmer Rouge and were guilty for the crimes of genocide. Other Khmer Rouge members had either died or fled the country before even being prosecuted. Chronologically of Cambodian events. Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge. Pol Pot was educated in France and was revered in regards to Maoism, Chinese communism, as well as Marxism. Envisioning the Chinese communist model as an ideal system for rebuilding Cambodia, Pol Pot resorted to deconstructing the entire republic to a primitive state. Dubbed Year Zero, all citizens would participate in agricultural projects of farm work and emphasizing that Western notions would be abolished. Those who were opposed to this were killed by the Khmer Rouge. Pol Pot was an extreme nativist and a xenophobe who wanted to eradicate all ethnic and religious minorities from Democratic Kampuchea. Kiernan. This is an image of Pol Pot. Casualties of the Cambodian genocide. These are the ethnic and religious groups. These are the approximate casualties, and this is an approximate percentage. So from the combined statistic of Cambodian and Vietnamese, over 500,000 casualties were abrupted, and it was 39.22% of the entire Cambodian genocide. Chinese Cambodian ethnic groups was 225,000, 17.6%. Chan Muslims were about 100,000 to 500,000, which was 7.84 to 39.22. And for religious groups alone, they were up to 50,000, which was 3.92% of the entire casualties. So in religious groups, it was mostly Buddhist monks, and also there were Cambodian Christians that were executed because of their religion. And so the total mass casualties that were recorded that we know of was at least to 1,275,000. And that says a lot. And these are just the ones that we know of. And approximately 260,000 refugees were a product of all of this. So this is the statistics of Cambodian genocide, 2002. These are the mass grave sites of Chiang Ik. So this is in South Cambodia, and these were the grave sites where one of the prisons were held. And let's see, it's right, I believe it's here somewhere. It's right here, and these are all the mass graves that were scattered around Cambodia. Most of you can see is mostly around Phnom Penh, but they were to the north, to the south, but they also carried around this river right here. And the prisons were here. And the mass graves were all the red dots that were buried. These are how the mass graves look. They were like large divots in the ground, and people were they were beheaded or killed, and they were thrown in these unmarked graves. And sometimes even when it rains, some of the bones, they float up to the surface, and the people of the museum, they collect the bones and they keep it in the museum. They don't want to throw it away because it's sacred to them. And even some Cambodians say that some of the skeletal remains talk to them. These are most of the skeletal remains that were recovered. So you can see there was a lot. And these are not just the skulls, they're bones over here too. There's like a lot of fragments. And this is a killing tree where executioners would beat children, and there's a lot of hair braids here in respect to the children who got killed. Right here, this is a magical tree. Right here, this tall tree. People were hung here. Sorry, a loudspeaker would be hung from the branches here while people were being executed. So as these people were being executed, they were moaning and groaning, but these loudspeakers, they would blast them so that you wouldn't hear the moaning and groaning. And this is a mass grave, and it's very large, so please don't walk to the mass grave. Right here, these are also clothings that were left by the children, and some of them would float up as it rains, so they just keep the clothes there. They don't throw it away, anything. They just keep it there for their keepsakes. This is in Chiang Ik. And the Khmer Rouge Tribunal. Subsequently, 3 decades after Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge were driven out of Phnom Penh, the high-ranking offenders of the crimes were taken into court of extraordinary chambers in the courts of Cambodia, ECCC, arranged by the United Nations in 2007. On behalf of those who were present, officials were tried for the inhumane treatments that were apparent in alleged violations of international law. Of the 5, only 3 Khmer Rouge's leaders were tried and condemned to life in prison in 2011. Khieu Samphan, Nguyen Chia, and Kang Kik Eoi were all convicted of crimes against humanity and war crimes. Ieng Sari and his wife Ieng Thirit died before the trial was concluded. Ieng Sari, I think, died of natural causes, but Ieng Thirit, she was actually dismissed in 2007, I believe, before the court was even processed through, because she had a severe case of Alzheimer's, so she wouldn't even remember. Well, he and her died before the trial was concluded, and when the guilty verdict for crimes against humanity charges were declared, millions of survivors of the Khmer Rouge breathed a sigh of relief after a long sought-out measure of justice. So these right here, about 500 people a day from what I've read would sit here. These are the descendants of the survivors of the family members, and they would come to see the court being processed. This is where the court was. These are the supreme judges, and these are they're half Supreme Court judges and they're half Cambodian judges. So this was a mashup of both Cambodian judicial system and the UN judicial system. So that had like judges from Japan and I think the United States and the UK, and they were all up here and over here. And these are the people who were being tried. So you can see there's a lot of people who just want to see that. There was probably some translators. This is the thing. And these are my works cited. So chronologically, that Yale University retrieved from link, word link. Right. Thank you very much. Thank you again. My name is Mandy Vongkhamsao. I am in the online course of your Modern Western Civilization. And thank you for listening to my presentation.